Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, we got an absolutely fabulous show coming your way because we got this guest on, and he's going to talk to us about how uh, the community, especially the ministers, the leaders, uh, and the community engage with a lot of the things, especially law enforcement inside communities to kind of like help them out and kind of like bring ideas, especially when things might not always be the right way. So I am excited about this guest today, and I tell you, but we're not going to talk about that right now until I'll bring the executive producer in and the co-host because she's going to introduce all of these things. She's going to introduce the guests, and we're just going to have fun today. So whichever platform you're watching this on, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. And we are on a lot of platforms. Whether you're watching this on the 360 TV, Transfers TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, um, and over 35 other live different platforms. Welcome to the show, and you can be part of the conversation. But again, I can't do anything without talking to the executive producer, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing good, James. I'm doing good. Yes, this is going to be a very informative show today with this very, welcomed guest. One of the most important things in life is giving back to the community and also using the God-given talents that you were blessed with. So this guest, as well as the program that he's involved in, is doing that. So we're just really excited to have him on the show today.
I'm excited to have him on here because I don't think we had a show like this before, and so it's going to be enlightening and it's going to be inspiring to know that you have people that cares and know that they have formed relationships throughout the community, with law enforcement, with government, to make sure that I wouldn't say policing, but to make sure that there's a commonality in things and that's going on, and that everybody get an understanding of what the community is thinking. So, Michelle, why don't you do the honors? Tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely great guest that we have today.
Oh, most definitely. So the title of the show is 4C'S Reform, Ministers Against Crime. And we're getting to know Bishop Stephen L. Bell. He's also Dr. Stephen L. Bell. He's a servant in the church as well as the community. And we're going to talk about Ministers Against Crime and what it involves and the challenges and rewards regarding this amazing program and the goals and visions for this program. So let's talk about this guest today. Dr. Stephen L. Bell has been serving in ministry from an early age under the late Reverend M.R. Mitchell and accepted Christ as Lord and Savior in the late 70s. He married his wife, Jackie, in the late 90s. She has been his first and only marriage for 25 years, and they have 3 adult children, all born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. He received his doctoral degree in 2015 in Christian education at the School of Scripture. He was elevated to the church office of bishop in the Lord Church on July 23rd, 2021, in Rivers Flow Fellowship out of Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Bell loves the Lord and serves people both in the church and community. He's always seeking to keep a continued growth to better serve in an effective way for the Lord Jesus Christ. Most importantly, he's a servant of integrity and one who puts others before himself. He's a servant of God and only looks to please the Lord, who believes in getting a good understanding with others. So please welcome to the show, Bishop Dr. Stephen L. Bell.
Hey, Doc, how you doing today? How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good. How you doing, sir?
I am doing absolutely one. It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show today
Thank you, thank
because
you. Grateful to
Pastor
be here.
Jackson talk about you all the time, and finally get an op- I finally get an opportunity to have you on the show and meet you and talk about some of the great things that you're doing, and also to bring our public and our world, not just Texas, but the world, on some of the things, solutions, and discussions and partnerships that they can establish in their communities as well. So
Yes. Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. So, Dr. Bell, can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you, where you grew up, and where you originally from? Are you originally from Texas, et cetera, et cetera? Just tell them a little bit about you.
Yes, sir. Am originally from Texas, born and raised right here in Fort Worth, Texas. Graduated high school from ODY. I am a chaparral. I am the oldest of siblings of Mary Johnson and Dr. A.L. Bell. I'm the oldest on each side. Sometimes I hate being the oldest, but I'm the oldest on each side. And I've married, and my wife is from Fort Worth, and my children, born and raised right here in Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow. So Fort Worth, I mean, Michelle and I have been here off and on for the last 22 years. So we get an opportunity to enjoy Fort Worth and California. So we're back and forth. But primarily Fort Worth is where we at. And we love this. Doc, everybody have folks when they're growing up that they look up to as role models that help them shape their thoughts and that help them to establish the person that they are going to eventually turn out. Sometimes it take a lifetime to get there, but we look at these people. So did you have any role models growing up that you still uh, admire and all the teachings that they taught you? I mean, and so can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. My mother kept me before, uh, I guess, the model icon men. And I find myself even over 50 still having men that the Lord put in my presence to help me stay accountable and focused. But when I was a child, M.R. Mitchell, who died in 1996, he was one that was instrumental in my life. Happened to have been my grandfather, which is my mother's father. And then my uncle, B.T. Williams. Now, he don't know this, but I've watched and I've followed him and my stepfather, Charlie Johnson, who is deceased, but B.T. Williams is still here. Uh, he was an inspiration and an icon. A lot of times when I watched his life, very quiet guy, but I watched his life, and there were certain traits that I saw of him that I said, you know what, I want to be like Uncle Bill when I grow up. So yes, sir. And in today's time, even as an adult, Bishop Nathaniel Johnson, Pastor Michael Moore, uh, Michael Hammond. There are several men that the Lord has allowed me to connect. Richard Speed, we call him Papa Speed. He's 86. That the Lord has allowed me to have in my life that helps me stay accountable.
Absolutely. So we have to have those role models that help us stay accountable, even as we season, meaning
Yes, sir.
as we age and as we become more knowledgeable, and when it comes to formulating on how we get our word and our message out to people, because Doc, you never know who's watching you.
Yes,
You
sir.
never
Yes, sir.
know who's listening to you. You never know who is just like, wow, I want to be just like Bishop Bell. Uh, so we have to be on our A game
Yes, sir.
all the time, representing the Lord.
Yes, sir.
So I gotta throw you off a little bit before we go off into this message. So Dr. Bell, Bishop Bell, either or, uh, what is one adjective that would describe you to everybody else that they might not know about? Just one adjective that makes you who you are and why.
Love, love.
Explain.
Why? You know, it's funny you say that because sometimes I don't know, but I know it's because of God. And the reason why I say that, because sometimes I want to stay mad, vindictive, angry, hateful. I want to get people back. And I have to ask the Lord, why you give me this kind of heart? I don't want to love this sucker right now. But love, and it's because of God, really. It's just because of God. It was one thing that the older guys always told me, and I found it to be true. At the end of the day, it's not about how they treat me, it's about how I treat them. And so I have some friends, I've even told them, I'm a better friend than you are to me.
I love it, because, hey, Doc, even though, and I guess we all go through this, people might not always treat us with the same respect that we treat them. And a lot of times they don't even know. However, we as men of God, God's children, we know we don't have to respond back to them just because they are not responding the right way. They might be missing something. They might be missing the full picture of God.
Yes, sir.
And it's up to us to step back, and I believe, and say, okay, let me help you out with that. Can you talk about that a little bit right before the break?
Well, yes, sir. We have to. A lot of people don't realize that when we are in that love part with them, or that sharing part, a lot of people try to take advantage of our kindness, and they think they doing something. And there's been time, JC, I've just had to let folks know, just because I don't say nothing, don't think I don't know when I'm being used. Don't think I don't know when I'm being taken advantage of. There's just comes a time, and I guess it has to do with a lot of selfishness. A lot of times we just so selfish, we don't see the bigger picture. And I try to understand the bigger picture.
I love that. You know what? we're going to take a station break, but one of the things I say when people try to take advantage and they don't know that we know is my favorite saying to myself is, I'm only some done. I'm only some done. I'm gonna play the game with you for a little bit. Until I get an opportunity to break it down to you. I'm only some done. Hey, with that being said, we're gonna take a station break. But when we get back, we're gonna talk about MAC. We're gonna talk about this great program that these great ministers are doing and why, and we're gonna dive off into that. And Pastor Jackson, I sent you the link. You can pop in anytime you want to. So wherever you're watching this at, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments and ask this great doctor, Bishop Bell, any question that you might have. And I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm just sitting back here, just giggling and having fun with my fantastic guest, Dr. Bishop Stephen Bell. And wow, I'm just the first segment getting the opportunity to know who this great man is, and wow, as you see, we got a lot because this is a great man. And but getting ready to dive into the program that he's working on. I'm fascinated because Pastor Jackson has told me so much about this, and I'll actually get a chance to meet the man, the man. And if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you I'll get you on there. Uh, Bishop Bell, can you tell us about this great program that Ministers Against Crime? Can you tell our viewers and listeners exactly what it is, what it entails, and how it makes communities and relationships better?
Ministers Against Crime is a group, as an organization of faith-based leaders that seek to come together and work together to help the policing in our community. We are under the umbrella of the Fort Worth Police Department here in Fort Worth, Texas. And the uniqueness about us, we have all denominations that is part of our organization. And the uniqueness that I like about Ministers Against Crime, many people will hear it called MAC in short, MAC in short. But we have the opportunity to sit at the table with the brass of the department and share our views and our thoughts, and when they get it right and when they don't get it right. And it has been an awesome task to work with.
Wow. So you all actually get a chance to sit down and I wouldn't say feedback, but let them know what the community is thinking, what you all are thinking, and whatever the issues or concerns are, you're working together with the departments to try to get a better understanding and correct the problem. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. Our president is Frank Lawson. Our president is Frank Lawson, Dr. Frank Lawson. Our vice president is Jack Crane and also Raymond Oliver. All three are pastors here in the city of Fort Worth, Texas. We do both pure support for the officers and we assist the victims. And a lot of times our presidents and vice presidents, they will go and sit at the table with the chief administration, secretary, etc., and look at footage and share their thoughts, their ideals of the process and the procedures that the department has in place. And also get to hear from our community and our churches a lot of things that they don't get to hear. They get to share back with the department, and vice versa. Things that our community don't know, we get to share back within our community.
You mentioned that you guys get a chance to represent, I wouldn't say victim, but the community, the people that might, whatever. Can you talk about that a little bit? How are you guys representing them and speaking for them or assisting them?
Well, a lot of times, JC, people are good in showing their anger and their frustration, but they're not always good in sitting down, talking, and explaining certain things. Allowing the process to take place. A lot of times people be at their wit's end, and some people are just afraid to share anything with police. Now, I haven't understood how we're afraid of police, but we not afraid of the people that we drive by every day that just shoot in road rage. Now, I haven't got that figured out yet, but be as it may, we try to assist victims when they have been hurt, harmed. We try to assist them by comforting them. And we have an acronym that we use with peace. That I brought about to the Ministers Against Crime. The P for pray. Everybody don't pray though, so we say pause. The E is for exhale. The A is for allow. Allow the police, the investigation to take their place. The C is care. Care for other people that's involved in this, because a lot of times we just get selfish and we see our way. And then the last E is examine. Examine yourself in the situation. How you fit in here?
I love this, man. I love how you break the acronyms down and put it into a understandable analogy. You know, so Doc, tell our viewers and listeners how you got involved in this and why you got involved in this.
I got involved because there was a time, there was a period, and it still happened today. It's just not as bad as it was a few years ago, where the Caucasian male was always shooting a black male. And I did not want to go on what nobody else say. I did not want to just go on what I thought. So I got involved in Ministers Against Crime so that I can see and be a part of myself. Now, Ministers Against Crime, if you don't mind me backing up a little bit, it was brought to fruition in the early 90s with older pastors, W.G. Daniels, W.L. Watkins, R.L. Sanders, Julius Jackson Sr., and so many others. And they brought it to when the gangs, because Fort Worth was high in crime, they brought it. Pastor Daniels went and got these other pastors together. And I believe at that time, Chief Wyndham was in place. And what they had a problem was black men was just getting pulled over for being black. And so that's where, so for a while, and even before I became anything, I'm still just Stephen Bell. But before I even got into the ministry, some of those folks used to have to chase me. I just stopped before I got caught. Yeah, they chased me, and so. And I used to watch Pastor Daniels. I used to listen to, way before I even started preaching, Julius Jackson and all of those guys, R.L. Sanders. I used to watch them. But what really got me involved is when I wanted to know what was the problem with, because we're doing all this marching. Why is it so bad? Now, you ain't going to like what I found, but why is it so bad that the Caucasian is always shooting a black man?
We got that problem all over the country still today. Hey, but you just said something so interesting. You almost got me crying here. You said, hey, before, and you didn't say before I got saved. You said before I became who I am and what I'm doing, they chased me too. The reason I said that is a lot of people might sit back and think that we all just popped in on the scene, born full-fledged the way that we are today, not knowing that we had to go through a process, and really learn and really develop who we are, develop our character, develop everything about us, and that it's never too late for a person to change and get understanding.
That's right.
You know, so knowledge, understanding lead to focus.
That's right.
So can you talk about that one a little bit more? Because that was funny. And I would go off the camera for a second and wipe these tears away. So
Well, yeah, I had my share time of doing mischievous stuff. My mama used to tell me all the time, it ain't but two places for a fella like you, and that's either in jail or in the ground. And so I just had an experience where, and I used to look at W.G. Daniels preach, and I'm telling you, I was a teenager. I used to go and hear Julius Jackson, but I was saved and received the Lord in baptism in 1976. But I had a backslid. I got mad at the church. I didn't care for preachers, and then the Lord called me to be one. And I was mad at. I had a lot of stuff. I saw so much like competition, I guess. And so I stole beer from 7-Eleven and jumped in and went in the houses I ain't had no business hanging out in. And I did all my fair share of that. And those very preachers used to tell me about what I needed to do. And, because I was afraid of getting whoopings, I didn't back talk. Cause mama and them, they didn't play that back talk stuff. So I just say, yes, sir. But I'll be saying something in the back of my mind. Y'all need to do so and so yourself, but the Lord grew me. And in that process of growing me, I ended up becoming a Ministers Against Crime because I wanted to know, how can I help my community, my brothers, my sisters, to not get shot? What's all that about? And so in the process of that, sadly to say, and many people won't like this, I've discovered a lot of times our problem is we just don't want to comply. And there's an old word, we think that's a cuss word, and that's called obey. We didn't lost anything about obeying. And so I discovered sometimes, and yeah, you got some mischievous people of all color, but a lot of it is simply just obey.
Wow. Yeah. This is so interesting. I almost don't want to take the break, but I got to pay the bills. We're going to take a station break. And I tell you, if you're listening and watching this great man right here, you want to be part of this discussion, whichever platform that you're watching this on, all you have to do is just go to the comments and just ask any questions, or just like Pastor Jackson, who's going to be joining us in the next segment, saying, Bishop, don't tell too much. I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we'll be back with more Dr. Bishop Bell. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and wow, you know, this great doctor, Bishop. I mean, so many types, so many things, but most importantly, a child of the Most High God. That's who he is, and he is just putting it out and educating us. I hear some noise in the background. Hope that disappear. But this that's what it's all about. Just what life is all about is uh, able to understand and be able to appreciate that God got plans for each and every last one of us. So hey, Bishop, that was a funny segment. Last segment, and joining us right now is Pastor Jackson. He joining us, and hey, Jax, you got some issues at your end. I can hear the feedback coming from there.
Okay, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out and come back in, JC.
Okay, all right. So Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Can anybody join? I'm talking about just for the clarification for our viewers and our listeners. What are the requirements to being part of MAC?
The requirements used to be that you had to be a preacher of the gospel, a person that was a preacher of the gospel. Just recently, we have lowered it to, because the word minister means serve. So if you're serving in your local church, you can do an application, and you have to be able, this is the must, you have to be able to pass federal background. You have to can't have no felonies and nothing above a class A. You have to be able to pass a background. And the reason why they changed it where you can just be, if you're a minister, deacon, or associate minister, or whatever in the church, because we needed women. We need women. We still need women. We still need young men to be a part, young pastors, young servants to be a part because of the age gap that we have now. It's hard for me to relate sometimes to a 13-year-old now, but that's the requirement.
Wow. So it's what is okay? Let's talk about this. You mentioned that it's non-faith based in a lot of situations. Can you explain that?
Well, a lot of times people get caught up with that. Are you Baptist? Are you Catholic? Are you Methodist? And are you that? Listen, when I say we this is not about what particular denomination you are. We are a faith-based, but we are non-denominational. Let me say it that way. I may have said it wrong. We don't get caught up in that. It's ironic how we preach from the same Bible, but yet we allow the small stuff to keep us so separate, and we got children dying out here. What we got to do is come together. Because when I was coming up, that was one thing that every home had in place, and that was basic home training. And we have lost the basic home training. We've thrown our values, our morals, our ethics, our dreams, our respect, our goals. That's 6 of them. We didn't threw all that out the window.
Hey, Pastor. You're absolutely right. Hey, I want to welcome Pastor Gary Jackson to the show. How you doing, my great friend?
Hey, JC Bishop. I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me in. I know it was Bishop's time, but you mentioned it on there, so I had to go ahead and jump in. But it's a pleasure.
I had to make sure you were listening, Jack. I'm Hey, Jack, why don't you tell our audience? You and I talk about this all the time. Mm-hmm. We meet and talk about some of the great things that this great man right here is doing, and how he has influenced you and your thought process on MAC and a lot of other things that you all are doing. Can you talk about that a little bit, Pastor Jackson?
Yeah, Bishop Bell is a great friend, a great mentor, a great leader, and he's just a joy to have in my life and my family's life. And so his fingerprints is all over the city of Fort Worth. And he has a heart for people, a heart for the community. And when we moved on this side of the Metroplex, we wanted to embrace and do local outreach. And I mean, the Lord brought him in our lives, and, we just took off running. And we do a lot of work in the community, and he's introduced us to a lot of things. But our favorite thing, to be honest, is Ministers Against Crime, because you get into the community. I know he's told you a lot about it, but it's so significant working with the police, not only the police department itself in the city, but also to enlighten people that the police come to the community. We have barbecues, they have outreach, they take care of the community. And one of my favorite part is doing the ride along with the police. And it's not just a regular ride along, we're actually implanted into the Fort Worth Police Department. So we go where they go. We don't do what they do, but we ride alongside of them. And it's a great ministry and opportunity, not only to the community, but to the policemen and police women that we ride with.
Wow. Hey, Bishop, can you tell us about because Jack just mentioned something, the ride along program. That means you guys are actually riding with the police in the police car, going with them on whatever that they are doing.
Yes, sir.
Bishop, talk to us about that one. That's so important.
Well, I think Jackson likes it because he wants lights and sirens and all that. He be like a big old kid in the car. Jackson, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. So things can happen real quick when you in that car with them. And so a lot of people don't care nothing for the police. And you in that car, they shoot darts and arrows at the car. But yeah, we're in the car with the officers, and that's one of the unique things about the program that we do, because not only is it helping out the officer, because we kind of like a tool on the officer's duty belt. But at the same time, we get to try to help the officer to degress or debrief or pause with things that they deal with on certain calls. You get to actually say how you processing that and help them process it, because what the community forgot is they are human too, and they just have a job to do. That's just happened to be their career. At the end of the day, they trying to go home too. They have families, they have lives. And so on the ride out, you get to actually see, and that's what I was saying earlier, you get to actually see how we just, as people, how we just respond to them soon they pull up. They ain't got to ask no question. Oh, Brother Jackson will tell you, before they even know who he was all kind of MFs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Even riding as a pastor, I get the bird all the time.
Oh yeah. You just flip off too. You automatically guilt by association. It's real troubling that you find that there is just some hatred. And some people that hate them, they just mad because they buddy mad. They ain't had no experience with the police.
Wow, this is incredible. Hey, Bishop, have you heard of this program with any other major cities in the United States? Because this seems incredible. I mean, can you talk about other cities that you might know that? And have you responded to see how it's working in their city? And is it working really well in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes, sir. There is a MAC program within DeSoto, the Houston area. The MAC program, when it started, President Clinton was the president at that time, and President Pastor W.G. Daniels, he was the one that helped start the funding for the Ministers Against Crime. Me, myself, since I've been a part, I've only had a connection with other Ministers Against Crime once. We haven't solidified a connection. But now in the Fort Worth area, Ministers Against Crime had died out because most of the guys, there's 19 of us now that's active. Most of us now, well, before then, those ministers were all full-time pastors. So they were off with a lot of the business meeting in the daytime. Now, many of us have a job. There's only a few of us that are off and available during the day. So that kind of crippled us a little bit. But it still is effective. We just have to be careful that we don't burn out those that are available in the daytime. And then some have health reasons, and age is stricken them. I mean, like now, it's hot out there. Now, Jackson is able to get out there and hang, but we can't send some of our veterans out there with this heat because, like I tell them, you can't watch the bad guy and got to give you CPR too.
Hey, but Bishop, any other states other than Texas? I know that the cities that you just mentioned are all Texas cities. Or do you guys engage with any other states on programs that's like this that might be able to benefit communities all across the country?
We were at one time. Again, that was with W.G. Daniels when he was president, and that was, like I say, early in the 90s. It has fallen off where we are engaged with any other state now. We do still have certain programs where the different states come together at different meetings, training sections that we participate in. But for us here in Fort Worth, we have been crippled by it because many of us have to actually schedule a vacation day from work to get there. We're looking, we got some new people coming in. We're looking to bring that back to where we can get with our other states.
I think it's so incredible. I tell you, we got to take a station break.
Okay.
But we're going to come back and we're going to continue this discussion with Bishop Bell and Pastor Jackson. If you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching this on. And I see we got thousands of people out there right now that's watching this. Or you can ask any question that you might have. And I promise you, I'll get you on there. It's your life. And I'll see you shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and this has been one of the best shows, in my opinion, for as me able to sit back with these two great, the Bishop and Pastor Jackson, and just, a lot of times when you're sitting with preachers, all that, you're all uptight. when you're able to have fun, and when you're able to laugh and talk about this and be able to get the message across to many others that need our help, that need to understand that when you're sacrificing, just like ride-alongs and whatever happened that day, that happened that day. If you're part of it, you're part of it. But you want to understand what's going on in your communities, and the MAC program, far as I see, is one of those programs that allow the pastors and community leaders to be a part of that process. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic process. But before we continue this segment, I got to put a plug in. A Black Man Point of View, Mind, Body, and Soul. That's my new release. And I tell you, and Jack, you're part of that as well. I can't believe that we were released number one release.
Congratulations.
Number one bestseller. And it's doing extremely well. And a lot of people look at that title, A Black Man Point of View. It's all about Black people. It's all about anger and all of that other type of stuff. Actually, it's not. It's about how Black men, women, and everybody think based on 400 years of colonization, slavery, and this and that, and people coming to our homeland and pulling us away, taking us to foreign countries, and we build those countries on sweat, blood, and tears, and treated like second-class citizens. And then we could formulate a lot of hate, and I don't want to deal with other races and this and that, but it's a roadmap to say, okay, our forefathers did this, and they built all this, and so that we are able to be where we are today, that we are able to look back and say, I would not be here unless it was my grandfather, great, all that. And I have learned to forgive. I have learned to love. I have learned to accept all races, regardless of what happened back 400 to 500 years ago, because we can't live the past. We can think about it, but we have to move forward in the future. So it's a roadmap to the love, not hate. And it's like a group hug for everybody. I know it was like that, but right now we have to move forward. And so, Jack, I like to thank you for being a part of that. So you can get that book anywhere where books are sold. One thing I haven't been getting any reviews on Kindle and Goodreads, so I need for people to go out and do that. So A Black Man Point of View, Mind, Body, and Soul, anywhere where books are sold, primarily Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and all other stores. I want to get back to this Mac. That was a rhyme with it. I want to get back to this Mac. Hey, Bishop, so with this program, how does MAC work with within the communities? How do you all go about getting the word out and providing feedback to the communities that the pastors and everybody is working with law enforcement to make sure that we are doing everything to ensure that we're not going to get wrong too many times, or we have an avenue of going back and providing feedback to the powers and the brass to be. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, one of those ways is sharing and walking in our community. There is a time where myself, Pastor Jack Crane, Wayne Balkay, Elder White, President Frank Lawson, Clyde Lawson, and Jackson, where we walk the streets. There's certain spot areas that a group of people just always hanging out. And so what we do is we take off our ties, and sometimes we keep our ties on, and we just walk within the crowd, meet, greet, talk to some of them, encouraging them, reminding them. Now, some of us, we don't always do that. There's been a downtrend where, and I noticed the title of the show has pointed out those 4 C'S to reform, because we talk about police reform, but if there's going to be true police reform, we got to also have community reform. You got to also have chamber reform. And when I say chamber reform, I'm talking about your own personal house. There needs to be some reform in your own house. And once you got reform in your house at your chamber, you can have reform in the community, the city, and the church. Can't nothing start if it don't start at home. So we go and try to do all of that and remind our communities and our local places that we pastor what we need to do. Now we got a trend. The problem is folks don't want to come to church. So I'm becoming a street bishop, because now you got to get the message out to us about we are responsible for our part. We have to take some responsibility. Now, if you're going to defund the police, okay, fine. But you better guarantee me that you can make little Charlie obey like he's supposed to. Because if you can't guarantee me that you can make your little child obey and your daughter, then guess what? I got to have some help. I need somebody to help me.
Hey, Bishop. Yeah. You funny, man. Hey, I cannot. We got about 2.5 minutes left in the show, but there are problems. And you came up in the green room. You were talking about these 4 P's. I can't get off the air unless you can explain what these 4 P's are. Can you do it in about 1.5 minutes?
Well, we have a problem with the 4 P's: police, preacher, parent, and principals. People don't like the school principal. They don't like their parents. They don't like the preacher. They don't like the police.
Explain. I mean, come on. We got a little bit more time. Explain.
Well, the preacher and the police is about the same, because when people say, "Oh, you a preacher, y'all ain't no good, y'all ain't no good," well, you got bad apples in everything. That don't mean every preacher bad. That don't mean every police bad. That don't mean all parents bad. That don't mean all principals bad. But you have parents that don't like the principal because it's order. They don't want to follow no order. They do not want to obey nor comply.
Wow. So how do we go about fixing that? I mean, I'm talking about even our kids sometimes, and you kind of mentioned.
One way that we go about fixing it is, me as a parent, I got to get myself in obedient status. Little monkey do what the big monkeys do. Have you ever went to the zoo? When you go to the zoo, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone because somebody gonna think I'm being funny. But if you go to the zoo, the little ones do what that big one doing. And sometimes our big parents, they disobedient. They don't comply. So what the children gonna do? That's one thing. And then when it comes to us preachers, we got to obey God.
You know what? We out of time, but
okay.
The network is going to hit me. But we're going to go over a little bit. Hey, this is so great. I got to have you back on again. If you got time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I enjoy it.
But this is so, hey, Jack, thanks for the recommendation. Bishop, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the James Cooley Show.
Thank you, sir.
I got to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Always dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. We'll see you then.